Dumelang ma South Africans, re le amogela mo rise. A recent report by Gender Links said that 51% of partnered women disclosed that they had been victims of abuse at the hands of an intimate partner. These statistics are not just numbers, they're people. And on tonight's show, we are speaking about cycles of abuse. I'm joined by my co-hosts. I want to ask you the question, have you ever been in an intimate relationship where you experienced violence and that kind of abuse, and how did you deal with it? Khanyi?
I think I have, actually. It was one date with some guy, and eventually it led to him stalking me in a very, oh my gosh, he followed me everywhere. He'd send me threats of, if you don't date me, he knew where I lived. I will go to your household. He would threaten my family. He would make sure he calls me every time, you know.
So how did you resolve it?
I got my family's support. Because at first, it was that thing of, okay, if I speak about this guy, that's why. I remember going to my grandma and just going, I cannot mutukeyo, this is his name, this is what happened, okay, but this person is on my neck. And it really got bad, because even after she had called him, he didn't stop. Then we had to include more family, include people who knew him around the community. His friends had to tell him to stop. It became, he was rather obsessed bad, but the support of friends and communities and family helped.
Yeah, you know, violence is not just in the physical, you know, sometimes it can be fear, because living in fear is a form of violence, you know. Exactly. Because I think in my intimate relationship, this is so much but the fact that I was always reminded that it could happen.
Yeah.
You know that thing. You know, and no, it doesn't even have to be verbal. Go in action. You know, when somebody constantly reminds you, so also because you know, it doesn't even have to be a verbal interaction.
But you guys are so young. I'm shocked that this is already happening.
Come on, you don't have to be in an intimate relationship with someone for them to actually, you know, sort of go against your will. And it happens so fast.
Walk around.
You know,
it starts there. We objectify women. Like sometimes even the way that you will see men looking at women, you know, it's almost like you know, like they don't see beyond you as a human being. But coming back to experiences, Kgomotso, you know, in my experience, even having done the work that I had done, what was scary for me was how, for a very long time, I believed the emotional abuse was happening because I had done something wrong to deserve it. And for me, it was shocking to say to myself, oh, maybe you know, and if only, and there were some calls I would take and I would will myself, you know what, can I just be nice this time?
Sure.
And when somebody starts affecting you that way, regardless of the circumstance, then you know you are under abuse. When who you are and even expressing your view is no longer as important as, can I behave in such a way that this person is not going to be angry with me? And until I realized that the issue was about the person and not me, I then said, why it's working? In fact, there's not. Or behave the way I behave, and I've got nothing to do with it.
So I don't know how long that relationship was for, but it leads to the next question, which is, why do we stay in abusive relationships? You know, you're not feeling good. He's probably not feeling good.
Because we think it's our fault.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
And for other women, it's practical reasons.
Oh, yes.
How sabereki, and the guy works. And and there's a child involved.
South African women need to know, how do you know the situation decide? And we're talking about physical and emotional.
I think Lebo had mentioned the first one, expressing yourself becomes far less important, you know? Pleasing your abuser, pleasing the person who's hurting you, like something, you know?
The worst thing, I think, in abuse is when somebody says, I completely lost a sense of who I am. Because everything, you know, and small things, lo baba lo uthanda ukudla okuso, uthanda ukuthi sigqoke so, uthanda ukuthi makafika indlu ibe so. So you are no longer an equal, you know, so everything that you do, your own interests, your own friends, and it can be as subtle as that, but also threats. And kukhona abanye abafazi who say, just because he slapped me and apologized, and said, oh, he didn't mean to, bekane stress, hey man, kune stress emsebenzini, bayaba retrench, that's why ngishaya. Hell no. That can never be an excuse yokuthi ushayiwe ngoba umuntu une stress. And I think for me that is the main problem. Yokuthi, if you see a person who cannot control their own emotions and they want to blame you for what they did, then there is something wrong.
Yeah. I think it becomes a real problem when somebody starts acting more like your dad, you know, because my question is, you know, basically, that's how I'm feeling about it.
Violence has become normalized as part of our daily lives, and young women in South Africa are living in fear. Impa Murauga Papazo will be joined by Nonhlanhla Mosokotso and Octavius Mxit, who will share stories that will expose the sharp ends of both sides.
Intimate partner abuse continues to exist as a shameful secret that is protected within our communities. Abavakashi bethu namhlanje basebenza bonke to fight the scourge of abuse within their community in Soshanguve. Please welcome Nonhlanhla Mosokotso and Octavius Mazipa from Heaven's Defense Force. Nonhlanhla, kunjani sis?
Ngiyaphila.
Ngicela ukuqala ngawe. The fact that we are sitting with you here is a miracle, sisi. Because I boyfriend yakho, ubaba wengane yakho yokuqala, really shot your mother, killed her, and you ended up in ICU. Just tell us what happened.
This guy, William Tanjewayo, it was 1998. Yeah. So, saqhubeka ngempilo mina naye then. Bangangishaya angayenzi. Then uqale lana sekaqala ucabana nabelungu bakhe emsebenzini. Kwa develop that anger leyo. Waqala manje sesilwa mina naye bengishaywa. Then the following day as in a take ye Nike or as in a kavela from there bengimxolela then. Then saqhubeka vele impilo iloku I upside down. Ngiloku ngishayiwa aloku aza na something tomorrow ngimxolela. Yeah, then bekumuntu vele bekaphila ngempilo lena yokuthi aphile alwe estradeni yabona. And bengiba supportive angali ukuthi bengi wrong and then bengimkhuza still ngimtshela ukuthi no uzogcina usejele. And then ma usejele njalo u expect ukuthi mabathi 20 years mina ko sengihlale vele ngilinde uWilliam.
Yeah. What happened on the day he shot you and your mother? What happened on that day?
Uhambe nabangani bakhe yakazange abuye ubusuku lokho. Then ngahamba ngaye ekubo because bengisekubo bekasangithethe vele athi sengihlale kubo ngeforced. Then athi ngihlale lapha nekubo lengimlinde yena uthirst yabona. Makakhuluma kanjalo usize uthirst ngiyambuza ngithi then uthirst for what? Bese angitshela ukuthi no ufuna ukulala nami yabona. So ngiyambuza ngithi ngoba wena uphilala nami every day then usho ukuthini? Abo wangitshela ukuthi no uyazi ukuthi kosi ngilale nawe can't expect ukuthi ngilale nobani. Ngathi okay mina impilo ebusongikhathele ngayo anye ngisakhona.
Loku 19 bani ngaleso sikhathi?
It was 2010.
Okay.
From there ngaye ekhaya. Mangifike ekhaya awu angizange saya nasenkonzweni ngifike ngahlala nje. Wabe se ubhizi kumuntu osekaqala uyafona manje senza ama argument ngitshela ngathi ungilinde ekhaya then. Why uhamba? Ngiyamtshela ngathi wila mina ngizwe ngawe ngikhathele ukuzwa ngawe yabona. Bese athi okay khona manje sokwazi ukusiphendula ngathi no uyazi ukuthi mina nawe sikhulumile kahle kahle akumelanga ngichubeke ngalempilo le nawe so mina ngizwile athi okay ku right ngabu past 7 uyakokota makakokota ngafula ivolume umama miyabuza ukuthi ubani uthi William hawu ngiyahamba ngiyovula umnyango mangivula umnyango vele bekumuntu vele bekasimisele izandla zonke besemuva isibhamu lesikuthi bekasifihle emuva kanjalo ngithe mangivula vele nje wangishaya ngibullet e1 makangishaya ngibullet e1 umama bekahlele lapho phansi nelasibona sekhaya umama uyasukuma uyagijima umdubulelani makabuza nje sekaqondene naye semnyango so uWilliam wamshaya la chesting ngebullet one la chesting so
Yeah, can I just ask ngingene lapha ngaphakathi but Octavius, just listening to the story saga sis Nonhlanhla from somebody who used to be an abuser. Do you remember why you started hitting women?
Yeah, mangikhumbula kahle thina amadoda especially mawe an abuser abafazi asikwazi ukunegotiate nabo when coming ama issues wethu, and then abantu bomama abantu ukuthi bona bakwazi ukukhuluma ukudlula indoda, and then what indoda ezokwenza ukuthi yena uzothula la uqala ukuacta khona ezilonga ngakhulumi nasomeone angathola usizo is whereby uzo-acta into eziluthi naye uzosola egcineni.
I'm just trying to understand the pathology ukuthi what drives a person, because I mean we're trying to get to women to understand ukuthi how to get out of that situation, you know.
Yeah, what is like you feel like we have disrespect her, and then power yakho angathi awusana power into yokuqala, and then mawumyeka nje kuphela it's like you are nobody else, you are weak.
Yeah.
Into zozifila lezo, and then ukuprova ipoint ukuthi wena ufuna ukuprova right, you'll do izinto ukuthi uyoimpressa abantu aba wrong, and then now you'll in a wrong way.
Yeah. But Octavius, what is power? Ukhuluma ngokuthi ngathi you've lost power or you lost respect. What is power and what is respect?
With power
in that situation.
In that situation as a man, ufuna ukuthi mawuvela kubonakala ukuthi ya le indoda ukuthi yazini noma into ukuthi uzowela intweni esebungozini uyakwazi ukuyingenela but uzithe ukuthi you are powerful, but unga understand kahle, but mawuse ufundile sewuthole konke ama counseling into ezinjengalezo uyakwazi ukuthi uzidakhe. Remember the victim also ukara counseling again, even the perpetrator who need a counseling just because of told me between the relationship as awusenhlanhla abuile this thing ethomile guy komsebenzi this guy from Matata amsebenzi azanga kara counseling ense moja maybe ikarno ba ya komsebenzi ngwa lengwa ko strateng, and then you click on byanong i-activate ke ke la nonhlanhla re kitse nkemela sankemela e pusha tsela tsotlhe tsela ba utlwisisa. So immediately itse motho wa mtsebanga tlamile o bona no this problem a se yone ka metsa ngora ka kwata tshela there's something o lo tshwantse le go through mola a thabile.
So nna ke batlo itse gore bana ba bashimane re ba ruta yang gore ba sa utlisa bo mme botlhoko.
Wa tseba a o se o butsise ntwe ngwe e pila thata. We guys ntwere bethang hangata re golela go strateng o bua bosigo a ona chance a dula le family a ona nako ya guidance le batswadi whatever so se le nna ngo lena ntwe tsempe go strateng wa utlwisisa mara when it's a girl health facility girl ba bua issue ya eng ha o bona re ke bosigo mosetsana ha tsamaya bosigo mara ha ile mosimane ba re motlwele ke mosimane and a mosimane is a woman being ba ile bala ntho tswala kana le so ke di issues tsa tswana ka le tshwantse re di lokise ba re lo jwala sa limits ka mkhobo mme ba khona go buang le bana ba bona ba setsana le bontata ba change ba bua like that so that ba share le bana ba bona ba shimane from ba salo munyana.
If you were to give advice to the young women ba ileng gore ba re shebeletse ka jeno o sunyana o ileng gore ba setse ba startile go motlapa mara o nagana gore maybe Abuti Octavius so o tla change, what advice would you tell young women?
Ukuthi bangahlali bangalinge bahlala nje kuphela umuntu abheke ukuthi umuntu lo umupha imali ye-lunch noma umupha imali ukuthi ku-provide endlini kumele nje iklapa ewali kuphela hambe ubophisa indoda yaboshwa. So nami bengilapho ngindlulile lapha esimene esinjalo and futhi angifuni ukuthi omunye andlule futhi ingakho isikhathi esiningi ngishare everything into le engehlakalele ngiyayishare even nabafazi ngiyabatshela ukuthi no bangavumeli into engivelele just because of next time akunamuntu ozokureplace ama so feel yabona at least mina ngisurvivile today ngisurvivile ngikwazi ukuthi at least ngikhulisa abantwana bami nanoma umama angasekho then yabona.
Ke leboga thata Abuti Octavius le Usnonhlanhla for joining us on this program. Hopefully le tla batla gape le tlo re thusa. We'll be right back after the break. O ska ba leka wa tshwara remote eo.
We've been talking about abuse in intimate relationships and how to break the cycle of violence. It's important for young women to know what support systems they have should they become victims of violence. In today's insert, Basadi Bako Rise Young Women's Club, Bako Ekurileni, went to power on an exercise to map out services available to them. Arba bonenche.
Nna ke nna Tutu Matloa, ke nna social worker ya Mophoa, lona le bomang.
Kaofela re le mona re tswa ko teenage club.
Okay. Welcome ladies.
Thank you.
So mo ke Mophoa. I hope you know about power. It's people opposing women abuse. So I think how to more power. You know, o kgona bontsha gore o breakile silence. So there are services that we offer on as an organization. For example, raise counseling. And then the other thing that we do, we offer sheltering. And maybe you can ask, why sheltering? You know, because there are times when your situation becomes so severe. And then you know what, the other option is available for when I go to and then utabela guy. Utabela ko police station, is it safe? Utabela ko neighbor, is it safe? So Ronald organization, we give you a space. Live familiar how like your children, more you can be safe.
So if one omyani, a 14-year-old is abused in a relationship, do I need like a guardian to go and report the matter or I just can come along?
Okay, only one. But if you have a good relationship with your mom, I mean, you can start talking to your mom. But there are services that on a child line. You can even give them a call, you know, and a person can work 1 hour 12 years or 1 hour 14 years because we have power. We're working with a woman from 18 years and above.
Okay.
So, but hardly 1 hour 12 years, 1 hour 14 years, we don't turn them away. We need to listen, but we refer to what we appropriate, but mind wa.
Considering the conversation that we've just had and this clip that we're watching, I'm just wondering about culture and the role that it plays. Does culture make women in this country believe that men are superior?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, it's from the small things like how you know? It's just giving them that platform.
But I think most South African women actually believe that men are superior. I find that that's the fundamental.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, hasefela culture, but also religion. I think there's so many areas and places where there is a pecking order. And you know, I don't have a problem if when ule mosadi, that is what you believe. And in your relationship, there is clearly mosadi then comes subservient. But it becomes a problem when you are not that kind of a woman. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when in a relationship, you are then attacked for who you are. And then the advice you get, hey, man, you know, and when how, and it's almost like, can it not be a negotiation when we are together?
And unfortunately, we are also patriarchal as women.
Yeah.
So you also find women who believe that unless munna ago betsa ga go rate or that the more ago betsa ke the more ago ratang. I don't know, if you're frustrated abi.
But we have also publicly, Rona as Basadi, humiliated other women. You know, so leha is you believe that in a relationship. I mean, there's so many public cases in South Africa where, you know, whether it's at a taxi rank where a woman would be stripped because of what they are wearing, or whether a woman has taken a powerful man to court. Right. You know, so another thing is even with sexual violence, even younger women, they are afraid to go and report. I question your you know, we don't start ngokuthi what happened to you regardless. And what that does is that it denies the men to reflect and introspect. So the thing that Eshu and Octavius, yoguti abo baba abeko speaking to the young boys.
How can you not blame yourself? Yeah. How can you not take responsibility? I must have done this.
Yeah, it's problematic because you have to find the other, which is not necessarily the norm. And all of us want to belong. So if you're told, Mosadi or actor as X, Y, and Z, let me give you a classic example. And it drives me crazy. Very, very powerful women in this country. Very often have a quote to Akudi Pampiring. And we're talking about CEOs. It drives me insane. Ufihlele motho a re, "Eh, nna ke CEO, I do this and that, I've got a team of 50. But when I get home, I know who the head of the house is." Pow! There's abuse I want to inflict on somebody.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And I mentioned that it may seem it's far from mpama, but it's exactly the kind of problematic behavior because it says that women belong at a certain place. When if you have to ask for society's permission to say, in order for me to earn this much money and to be this powerful, I have to be on my knees at home. Oh no, that's not going to help. I think it's all part of the same problem.
And I think it's an attitude that we need to change, actually. I think it's something we need to take up on ourselves. You know, abuse in intimate relationship is not, like, the problem is not yours, you know? As a person, it's not your fault. You need to own your body. You need to own your dignity, and that nobody else can come and claim it or force themselves on you. You know, it's an attitude that we need to change. This is mine, that's yours. You know, respect your dignity as a woman and hold on to it.
And another thing, Nyiko, I think we shouldn't make abuse a private matter. I think that's where most of our mistakes are. In any way, I think it is important that we tell our friends at every time, or you tell somebody, because a lot of young women go missing. So please, if you are dating someone, make sure every time.
Very good point, my sister. Ra le leboga kaofela le lona baeng ba rona ba ne ba le teng e ne leng Ois Nontlantla le Abuti Octavius. We hope that their stories will encourage other young women and men to help stop this cycle of violence. Thank you to the young women in the insert and the Power for hosting them. And thank you, of course, to the young women who are joining us in studio. For more information on Power and other organizations that can help, go to our Facebook page, Mxit, and Twitter. Good night and see you next week. Woof, woof.